About 500 years ago, the gross world product was flat. In other words, generations of people that lived apart did not experience any change in their living standards. But as technology began to be created and nations began to put intellectual property rights, people began to see changes in living standards. It's important to know that though there were empires and kingdoms, until the productivity of nations, driven by technology, began to have impacts across different national economies, many people on the earth were literally poor. The difference between the developed nations of today and the developing nations of today is basically the intellectual property rights and ability to create technology under this framework. As a PhD student in the Johns Hopkins University, I came to this conclusion that the future of the world will not be governed by minerals and hydrocarbons, rather, the ability of nations to use knowledge and create prosperity and wealth for their citizens. So I founded the African Institution of Technology. It's an organization that is working to help in the diffusion of emerging technologies by working with universities, working with governments, and small and medium-scale enterprises in Africa. We have done some remarkable works. We have helped universities to develop international grants and proposals. We have worked with national governments in crafting the technology roadmaps. We have also been responsible for a project sponsored by the World Bank in Africa. We are looking forward to that continuous relationship through microelectronics workshops and seminars, which we run across Africa. Last year alone, we visited 23 universities, 42 small and medium-scale enterprises, and 7 government agencies. We try to bring a new kind of dialogue, that though there are mines of minerals, mines of hydrocarbons, what Africa needs is to build a mind of knowledge. Because knowledge will rule nations, and any nation that does not have this ability and capacity to create knowledge will not prosper in the 21st century. We have to do this because if we do not, our continent may find it very, very difficult to survive this century. So as we are looking into this, I'm asking you to help us. In the African Institution of Technology, we have already noticed that we cannot do this alone. We need the support in forms of books, provision of laboratory tools and equipment, computer-aided design tools to help students to actually practicalize some of the theories they are being taught in African universities. And we are also involved in research efforts, understanding how technology sector is being formed in Africa's informal economy. You already know that in my continent, there are so many of them, so many nations that are being dominated by the informal economy. And we want to find out how technology is playing a part. What is really happening? Because we want to eliminate guesswork in governance in Africa. And it can only be when we begin to provide data to government. We look into the future of Africa. And what we see is a continent that is hopeful, that is prosperous, a continent that does not need the aid from the developed nations to take care of its citizens. And what we are asking you today is to help us in so many ways by being collaborators, working with us in our research, helping us where necessary in developing course materials for universities in Africa. We are looking for professors that can help us to develop courses in emerging areas of technology, nanotechnology, microelectronics, as well as so many other fields that are going to radically change the future of mankind. You know, when we look at what technology could do in the future, we are a little bit troubled Because if nanotechnology begins to advance, the commodity sector in my continent can actually be into trouble. Imagine when nations do not need to worry about importation of cotton from Sudan. They can just go into a laboratory and create cotton. And what will happen to the Sudanese farmers? We don't know. But we know one thing. It's not going to be very, very easy. But we can only prepare these farmers if we begin to move their nations, beginning to create knowledge and differentiate their products, begin to add value, so that even when technology disrupts the African commodity markets, we can still survive very well as a continent. We are building through entrepreneurship workshops. We are helping small and medium-scale enterprises through business plan competitions. We're running seminars and workshops. There are so many areas you can actually visit African University and spend 2-3 weeks and teach. We just want you to give us knowledge. We're not necessarily interested in your physical cash. I think that's not what we need now. What we need in Africa more than anything, people that can help us to create knowledge. And I look forward to you extending your hand of fellowship as we build minds of knowledge and help invent a new Africa. Thank you.